Finding logo design ideas can be quite tricky because we don't know whether the logo is any good, whether it's unique so we can actually use it. Why is it just so difficult for a lot of people to design a unique, good looking logo? Well, today I'm going to be showing you how you can find logo ideas that will actually help you. If you like this sort of content, please feel free to subscribe. The first thing to do is research. You probably heard this before, but if you're new to logo design, researching competitors, researching your industry will show you a lot of other companies with lots of logos. When we design logos for clients, it's important to know whether the logo has been used before, what kind of color palettes they use, what structure. Do they use a logo type? Do they use a combination mark with an icon and type? What do they use? Researching gives you ideas. So if you know that you're making a coffee shop in a town full of coffee shops, you research all the different logos and they all look the same. Well, by doing the research and knowing that all the logos look the same in this town, you can create a logo that looks different, which segments them from the market, making them more unique. If you're working for a fashion company, maybe looking at logo designs within the fashion industry. So magazines, seeing what logos they use. Most of the time, there'll be high luxury serif typefaces being used. There is a pattern. Spot the patterns and take advantage of them. So if you've ever struggled to find an idea, then it's probably because you haven't put the groundwork in through researching to generate good ideas. Okay, number 2 is mind mapping. I bang on about this a lot, but mind mapping is essentially where you can put your thoughts on paper in a structured way that is slightly more visual. I use FigJam or MindNode. What mind mapping does is it allows you to create connections between certain words or statements. This is a really neat way of actually showcasing what's in your mind, but it's also great at finding connections that you wouldn't otherwise find. I think the biggest struggle that we have as logo designers is finding a unique connection. So for instance, having a coffee shop that's all about being eco-friendly. You automatically think of like a coffee bean or a mug and then a green leaf. Well, maybe we could go further than that. And that's where the mind map comes from, where we can find other connections to create more clever designs. But not only that, is it actually puts your ideas onto paper. Using words instead of images can help with this a lot because it's a different way of visualizing the same thing. I have a Skillshare original class that you can take all about iconic logo designs and how to ideate them, how to brainstorm for these ideas. And mind mapping is one of the biggest steps that you take when ideating. It allows you to free your mind. So use an app like MindNode or FigJam. FigJam actually has AI that can help you with it now. And you'll be surprised when you intentionally sit down and try and make connections. The next tip I'm going to give you is to be abstract. Now, if you're new to logo design, abstract iconography, which is basically an abstract icon, allows you to say a lot without doing much. Abstract icons generally don't really have a story to tell. They don't really signify anything other than it being unique. And this is a great method to actually generate something unique. Whether it's a cool pattern that you can follow along in your brand, or whether it's just a mark that people will recognize. Finding an idea that is completely unique is so difficult to do, if not impossible. Every idea comes from mashing together a few other ideas with a few influences and inspirations. Everything's a mashup. But generating an abstract idea can be quite unique, in fact. So going ahead in Illustrator or in whatever program that you use, generate some cool patterns. As long as it's stable, as long as it's versatile, scalable, balanced, and harmonious, then it can be used as a logo design. The only drawback to abstract icons is that they don't really say much about the company most of the time. And that's where combination marks come in. So you have a visual icon and a brand type or logo type word mark together so that you can read the company name but also understand the visuals behind it. That's where the problem comes in for abstract type. You'll need to have a combination mark for it to be fully effective, especially if you don't have the marketing budget of, let's say, Apple, Google, Adidas, all these places. My favorite way of generating ideas is called Draw 10 in 10. This will change the game for a lot of people out there. If you're struggling for an idea, get some scrap paper and a pencil and task yourself to draw 10 ideas without using the eraser in 10 minutes. So that's 1 minute per idea, very fast. If you wanted to go even more extreme than that, then you could draw 20 in 10 minutes, so that's 2 ideas per minute. This is an exercise to get you to just generate ideas as they come. Sometimes the best creative work comes out of being a bit pressured. In fact, when I'm not pressured, I like to do this just to see what happens. I will just sit there without using an eraser and generate bad work. And you don't have to worry because no one's going to see that. They're only going to see the end result. The crafting of a logo design and the idea generation part can be quite messy and a bit convoluted. So don't worry about showing people that part. Just sit down, draw 10 logos or bad ideas, as I like to call them, in 10 minutes. Out of those 10 logos, you'll probably find an idea that you can work on more so. You'll see whether it works better than the previous idea or whether you could just elaborate on top of that idea to make it into a full logo design that works. This is a really unpressurized way of generating ideas. And my final tip is to design logo types by time periods. This is a really interesting one. So I'm a logo type designer, so I specialize in word marks. And that's what us as a graphic design agency does. We create brand identities, visual identities, whatever you want to call them. Logo type design is a skill that's hard to master because you have to be able to draw the type itself. Obviously, we have software that helps us nowadays, but all of our drawings start on paper. Now, one way of generating an idea that will work for that specific company is by looking at typography through the ages. Let me explain what I mean. A coffee shop that is quite old and vintage wouldn't have sans serif font on it. That just wouldn't make sense. It would look too modern. So we go back in time, we go to a serif font. Well, I've got this nifty book up here called A Visual History of Type, and it's amazing for anyone who's interested, but essentially takes you through type through the ages, and it'll show you examples of fonts and lettering that has been used. If I know that this coffee shop is going for a more old aesthetic and an old feeling, maybe from the 1940s, 1920s, I'm going to go ahead and choose a typeface or be inspired by a typeface from that time period. Maybe it's for a truck that sells snow cones, which we've worked on, and they want to get back to the sort of 70s, 60s, 70s feel. Well, I'm going to look at typography from the 60s and 70s. It's all groovy. Knowing the time period of where the brand is will severely influence the way the brand's going to look in its typography. So choose a typeface from that time period. If you'd like to learn the art of bespoke logo type design like we do, which is a skill that AI finds very difficult to replicate, and it's a skill that can actually make your career as a logo designer, then I've got a course called Logo Launch where we go through an entire project and I show you from the start to the end how we created a logo type for one of our clients' rally. Don't worry, it's not just me showing you how I did it. I'm actually going to give you exercises and things to do inside the course, so you're basically working alongside me throughout on your own project. I show you how to draw letters, I show you how to vectorize letters, I show you how to present your work and the key psychological factors of doing so, and I show you how to show your work to the public as well, and how to make money and how to charge and how to do everything. It's a huge course. I think it's one of the biggest graphic design courses out there. So click the link in the description, go to designacad or logolaunch.com and see a couple of free lessons for yourself if you want to learn more about logo type design and how it can benefit your career. If you enjoyed this, please remember to press that subscribe button, leave any questions down below. I'm going to do my best to answer as many questions as possible, and I'll catch you in the next video. See you soon. Goodbye.